Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. It's Jen on Acre by the Creek. Today's 2-Minute Tuesday is all about the best way of growing your tomatoes. All right, the clock's ticking. Let's get into it. Okay guys, the first thing that you need to know is whether your tomato is determinate or indeterminate, and I'll quickly explain what that means. Basically, an indeterminate tomato is one that has an indeterminate amount of fruit that it will grow. So it will just keep producing and producing and producing as long as there's no frost or disease. Whereas a determinate tomato has a predetermined amount of fruit that it's going to put out, and that will all come out and then it will ripen together all at once. So knowing which type of tomato that you're growing, or if you're growing both varieties, is important because you want to make sure that you're caring for that plant the way that it's meant to be cared for. All you need to do is look at the card that you bought your plant with or the seed packet and Google the variety and it will tell you. If you're growing different varieties than I am, don't worry, it's the same thing regardless of the variety. The key here is to know whether it's determinate or indeterminate. In my plant with me video, I showed you guys how I got my tomatoes planted in, and that's a big key here. So if you didn't see that, pop over to that video so that you can see. But basically you just want to bury most of your stock. The reason being is your stock is going to set out roots, and the more roots that your plant has, the more nutrition that it can take from the soil because it just has a bigger surface area to take up the nutrition. Also in that video, you'll see I talked about fertilization, but a key here is you want to make sure that your tomato plants are fed because they're going to be putting out fruit. They need a lot of energy and a lot of food to create that. Speaking of energy, the reason that we're going to be pruning our plants is so that we can get rid of leaves and stems that are just going to be taking energy that aren't giving us any fruit, and then the plant can really focus on those areas that are going to produce fruit so that you have maximum yield in your garden of all the tomatoes that you're growing. The first thing that I'm doing here is trimming off the lower leaves that are closer to the soil. You don't want your leaves touching the soil because it can introduce disease and some issues. So keeping them up off the ground is important. So once you've cleaned up bottom part of the stalk of your stem, next step is going to be to trim off your suckers. Now these are quite small, so I'm just going to go ahead and pinch them off. But the way that you determine whether or not you have a sucker is you want to follow your main stem up, and then you have a leaf coming off, and then you can see that there's something right in this little crotch. So this here would be considered a sucker. Same thing here, keep following your main stem up. You have a nice leaf here, and then off of that crotch you have another sucker. So these are the ones that you want to be taking off because they will steal your plant's energy. They will put out fruit a few sun leaves later, but they're just going to put so much energy into growing sun leaves that it's going to take away from your other ones that are going to set flowers and then eventually set fruit. Something that you need to be very careful of is not to top your plant. So you do not want to remove from the top portion of your plant until you know that it is a sunleaf or a sucker. If you accidentally top off your plant is going to stop growing tall, and at that point you have stopped yourself from being able to continue to grow your plant bigger. Now this plant here is Aroma. This is one of the determinate tomatoes, so I am not going to be pruning anything off of this because any branch that comes off and sets fruit is all that I am going to get. So I don't want to be taking anything off that is going to cause this plant to produce less for me. So these determinate varieties, they will get bushier and they will just have more leaves. That's just kind of the nature of the game of growing a determinate tomato plant. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this Cliff Notes version of growing your tomato plants. If you did, make sure that you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you guys here on Friday with another video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.